Hi guys, welcome here. I'm so glad that you decided to join me in today's video. Today I'm going to be bringing you along while I do some sourdough baking. These are some very easy sourdough recipes that I've really been enjoying lately. They are so doable. I've been enjoying doing these on pretty much a weekly basis for a while now. And let's be honest, if a recipe isn't easy enough, then I'm definitely not going to be making it on a weekly basis. So if that tells you anything, these are very nice, easy, doable recipes. I'm a mom of 5 young kids, ages 10 down to 11 months. And so life can be busy. It can be pretty busy. It's also that stage of life where interruptions are everywhere. They happen all the time. You don't very often get solid amounts of time to work on any one thing, but there's lots of stopping and starting and interruptions and things like that. And so it's one of the things that I love about sourdough is the relaxed nature of it compared to something that uses like a yeast, like a baking yeast. It's just so much more relaxed and fits very nicely into a very busy schedule. So here you just saw me feeding my sourdough starter. I have a sourdough starter that I love to feed with whole spelt and a little bit of whole rye. It's very bubbly and active today. It's ready to go. But I usually feed that either in the morning and then put my recipes together in the evening. Today I am doing the other thing that I'll often do, which is feed it the night before and then get started with putting my recipes together in the morning. So the first thing that I'm putting together is some sourdough bread. So you can see I changed my mind here with what bowl I was going to use. And I'm opting for this bigger bowl. And that's because I'm making 4 loaves of bread. That's one of the things that I find is really helpful is just kind of batching things. So if you know, we can kind of use to stock up on bread, just go ahead and make 4 loaves at once. The recipe that I've been following lately is a great one. I'm going to link it down below. But it has measurements for either 1 loaf, 2 loaves, or you can decide to double the 2 loaf option and make 4. So that's what I'm doing today. But I have the bread all mixed up. It's just in its first stage here where you just kind of roughly mix everything together and then let it sit. And then I'll come back to it in about an hour and start stretching and folding it to get it incorporated more into like a shiny dough type of a texture. The next thing that I'm making are some hamburger buns. Now, if you've been watching our what we eat in a week or week of dinner type videos, you'll remember that lately we've been enjoying homemade hamburgers cooked on the grill with our sourdough buns every Sunday. It's been kind of fun. Everybody loves these, so it makes it to just a really nice Sunday lunch to look forward to for everybody. It's easy because besides putting the buns together at some point in the week, which is easy to fit in, there's not really a lot of prep work, so it kind of makes Sunday a little easier for me. My husband tends to be the one to cook the burgers out on the grill. We also fry some fries out in tallow out there as well. And so he helps out with that, and so that kind of frees me up a little bit. So it's just been really nice for us. We've been enjoying that for a while, and I think we're going to continue that for a while. But I'll link, again, all of the recipes that I'm showing you today. This one is my sourdough hamburger bun recipe that I'm actually kind of been tweaking a little bit lately. I've been trying a little bit of a different method with it where I do some stretch and folds. I incorporate a refrigerator, slow ferment, some things that I didn't have in my original recipe, and I think it makes them lighter and fluffier and softer. So I'm probably going to be updating my recipe with these changes. And the third recipe that I'm making today is a little bit more of a new one that we've been enjoying lately as of the past couple of weeks, and this is sourdough pizza dough. So we have been having a lot of fun with this on Saturdays, enjoying some homemade pizza as a fun Saturday dinner. and I've been really liking this recipe. It goes together very easily. It includes a overnight refrigerator ferment, and it actually has a lot of flexibility. It uses sourdough discard, so you're not relying on a very active sourdough starter, which it makes it super easy. I'll use active sourdough starter if I have it, but I just know that having discard as the, option that it calls for just really gives me a lot more options. So I've been doing that, and then you can keep it in the refrigerator once it's ready to sit in the refrigerator for several days, and then just pull it out once you're ready to make the pizzas. So I love having that. It's been really easy to incorporate into kind of a weekly baking routine, and we've been really enjoying having pizzas on Saturday. Here I've just decided that it's time to transfer my sourdough, the part that I keep to feed it, to a new clean jar. As you saw, the jar that I was using as I fed it before I did my baking was pretty messy. It got very eager and very, overflowed onto the counter quite a bit, made a big mess. But every once in a while, I'll just start into a new jar. I like to keep the same jar for feedings for a while. I just find that kind of helps populate the next batch really well. And I know that my sourdough starter is robust enough that I don't have to worry about mold or anything. And it's also easy. So like I said in the beginning, anything that's easy is going to be something that I'm going to stick with these days. But today I decided we're going into a new jar, just kind of clean things up a little bit, and get that fed, and then I'll just feed that and stick it in the refrigerator, and then it sits in there until I need it again, about a week later, maybe sooner, just depending on what I'm deciding to make and when. But that's generally my weekly routine, is to take the sourdough starter out, feed it, and do some baking, feed it again, put it back in the refrigerator for a week or so. So at this point, I was just finishing doing a stretch and fold on the hamburger buns. I'm also going to do a stretch and fold on my bread dough. So the hamburger bun technique that I've been kind of experimenting with is to do 3 rounds of stretch and folds before letting it sit for its bulk fermentation, and that's been really nice. So I usually have bread going at the same time, so I'll just fit the first 3 with the ones that I do for the bread dough. So for the bread dough, I usually try to fit in 6. And right now, I am just doing my initial round of quite a few stretch and folds with the bread dough because it's still shaggy, it's still in its early stages, still needs to come together. So I'm doing that, and then also it's already time to do my second one with the hamburger bun dough. So we're getting that done with one hand here today. So baby has been fussy today. She's teething, she's getting new teeth, and she just wants to be held all the time. So another benefit of sourdough is we don't have a bunch of time-consuming kneading or anything that takes 2 hands, just some simple stretch and folds that, as you can see, can easily be done with one hand if you need to hold a fussy baby while you get it done. Does anybody else love this part of sourdough baking, getting to go over and just do the stretch and folds? There's something about just getting your hands into the dough that is so fun. It's like a little fun hobby that I always look forward to. So that's another one of the benefits. It's like a little piece of mindful time where you can just do something that's so relaxing and so fun. Next is another really fun part, seeing how the dough has risen and all the fun air bubbles that come, and then shaping it into what it's going to be. So here I have my 4 baskets for the second ferment in the refrigerator for my bread loaves, putting some flour out on the counter, putting my nice big batch of bread dough out onto the counter, trying to be gentle to not get rid of those nice air bubbles that developed in there, and then I'm just dividing it into my 4 pieces, shaping them into their little round shapes and putting them into their baskets. After this, they'll go into the refrigerator where they will do a rise, and again, this cold ferment in the refrigerator is super flexible. As long as you didn't over ferment the first step, you have some flexibility again. You can bake it like as soon as 5 hours later. You can let it wait till the next day. As long as that first ferment, like I said, was really not too much, you can oftentimes get away with baking it into the second day sometime. So like 2 days later. It just really depends. So, and even if it wasn't perfect, like has happened to me plenty of times, and it did rise a little bit too much and it's a little bit of a flatter loaf, it's okay. We still enjoy eating it, and that's the great thing, is you're still getting great food even if it wasn't just absolutely perfect. The next thing that I'm doing is working on my hamburger buns. So these did their first bulk ferment on the counter, and then they went into the refrigerator until I was ready to work with them. Again, adding that refrigeration step, which I didn't have in my original recipe, has really just added to the flexibility. So then I don't feel like, oh, I have to shape these as soon as that first bulk fermentation is done. I have some flexibility and I can let it wait for a day or two, or I think that's about as long as I've ever waited, is about 2 days later, but that just makes it that much easier. So I've also been changing the way that I divide the dough too. So in my original recipe, which I'll link down below, I have you divide it up into thirds, and then you end up with 6 buns, but I always double the recipe for one thing. And then I've been dividing it into fourths and then eighths, and then getting 16 individual hamburger buns out of this. And I find that that works great. They're still a really nice size, and that way we have plenty to go around. And then I also like using these for sandwiches. So we'll use them on Sundays with our homemade grass-fed beef burgers, and then we'll have enough to go into the week a bit to use for making sandwiches. And once these have finished rising after they were shaped, it's time to go ahead and just put a little bit of a egg yolk and milk mixture on the top and sprinkle some sesame seeds, and then we will bake these. So I was a little hasty in my shaping. You can see they're not all perfect round shapes. It was kind of busy with the baby being fussy. I had to kind of quick get these done while I could. Since she just wants to be held all the time. I have been wearing her a lot, but you can only do that so much. She doesn't love to be worn all day. She wants to kind of be held other ways too. So anyway, just doing a really quick version of these, and they still turn out amazing. They taste so good, and yeah, even if their shape is not absolutely perfect, because like we said, we are keeping things real for busy people who still want to enjoy homemade sourdough. It is also time to go ahead and get my bread loaves baking. So I have my cast iron Dutch oven that I'm going to put in the oven while it's preheating. I like to try to keep it in there to preheat for a while before I put the loaves in to bake. But again, if I'm a little bit in a time crunch, I'll just, do what I can. And so we're going to go ahead and get these taken out of their little rising baskets and do some scoring. I talked about how much I enjoyed doing the stretch and folds. I think I enjoy the scoring even more. It's probably one of my most favorite parts of making sourdough, is getting to do the fun little designs. It's like another little artistic outlet. I haven't really branched out from my little wheat pattern, but I would love to try to practice doing some other designs soon. I kind of wanted to get a little bit better at timing the rise so that I could know that the loaf would look good enough to be able to display those different patterns well. So we'll kind of incorporate that as we get the hang of it. But yes, getting that first rise timed just right so that it's not overproofed is a bit tricky, but we're getting there, and they're looking nice and round when they come out of the oven lately. So next, it is time to get started on our pizza dough. So this has been sitting in the refrigerator. It does a bulk ferment on the counter, and then it goes into the refrigerator until you're ready to work with it, basically, which makes it so nice and easy. And so now I'm just dividing it. So I did a double batch from the written recipe, which I'll have linked down below, and that is going to make 8 pizzas. So that's enough for all of us to have plenty to eat with some left over, and it's been really fun just doing this. So it's Saturday, my hair is wet. I got a shower in because I wanted to have time for my hair to dry so that I could do my heatless curls for Sunday the next day. So that's why my hair is wet in this video. But I'm just shaping the dough, so I am just kind of flattening it out. More like an 8-inch circle is better. I'm making them a bit big here. The only thing that does is just makes it a little tricky to transfer it over to the skillet without it stretching out too much, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And this recipe was really nice because it uses a cast iron skillet. So you start off by putting the dough into your preheated cast iron skillet. You put that in the oven on a broil setting, and then you put it on the stovetop under medium-high heat. Put the dough in the pan, and then you just do your toppings. So we have some basic organic pizza sauce. I'm doing mozzarella cheese, and then some all-natural uncured pepperoni. And then once the toppings are on, you put it into the oven. So at this point, the bottom of the crust will be nicely cooked, starting to darken just a little bit. And then you put it in the oven under the broil setting, and then the top of the crust gets cooked as well as the toppings get heated nicely. So cheese is melted, everything's nice and hot, and it's just really delicious. It's super easy, flexible, doable. Yeah, so we've been really enjoying this recipe. Also, I wanted to mention, if you haven't yet, I invite you to join me over on Patreon. That's where you can join and get early access to my videos before anyone else sees them. They're also ad-free, so it's not on YouTube and you don't have to be interrupted with ads over there. But I'm also going to be doing a new thing over there, which are going to be live cook with me videos. So I'm really excited to start doing those. And if you'd like, I'd love to see you over there. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!